Welcome back into Studio 10. Mobile County getting ready to kick off their new school year, but it's going to look a bit different this year. The first 9 weeks will be completely virtual. Now tomorrow on Perspectives with Eric Reynolds, we're going to hear from Superintendent Chessel Threadgeld. We're also going to get the details on the back to school plan. And Eric's joining us now this morning to talk more about this. Eric, with all the schools going back, some have the virtual option, but Mobile County is going completely virtual, as we've talked about for the first 9 weeks. What are going to be some of the things you'll cover on the show tomorrow?
Well, I think it's an interesting perspective because, number one, they pushed the school start date back a little bit because some of the other schools, like the Catholic schools, started that first early part of August, the 12th, and I think some started on the 7th of this month. And so they gave themselves a little more time as well as to observe what's going on. And the virtual school this time is going to be different from what they had in the spring. They learned a lot in the spring, which was a quick change, from the in-school traditional style. And so now they're able to, they believe, better serve the kids and the parents and the whole process of making sure they're educated. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about how difficult it was to make that decision because a lot of the larger school systems in the country, they talked about them in the last couple of weeks and how they've been able to navigate the conditions and things they were offering. And Mobile County, the largest in Alabama, and so they were one of the ones spotlighted on what they decided to do. And so we'll hear more from Superintendent Threadgeld about that. And then, of course, we'll talk also about the Catholic schools.
That's true. Now, the Catholic schools, they are in person with a virtual option, is that right?
Correct. They started things back in the traditional style with the option of virtual for parents who felt more comfortable with that. And one of the unique things that they did also was that the Superintendent Gwen Bird and their archdiocese officials, they brought people to the table from each school. And so they decided, based on the guidelines, how they could best effectively make things safe for the students and the teachers and the staff. And so they've got an interesting dynamic, and they've been pretty successful so far, starting on the 12th, and we're almost at the end of the month here. And so things pretty good with the decisions they made, and they're very staying on top of it, of course, because you just never know. But it made a difference, they believe, in having everyone at the table to say, we think this might work more effective, and here's an idea. And so they came up with their individual plan.
Not to give a spoiler on exactly what Mr. Threadgeld is going to say on the show tomorrow, but I wanted to ask, with obviously it being safer for faculty doing virtual only in Mobile County, were the teachers, were the majority on board with that? Were they breathing a sigh of relief like, whew, thank goodness? Or were they kind of hoping, that they would go at the original start date in person?
Well, I think some of each, because some of the teachers were concerned. You had some teachers that actually retired from all of the school systems. And then looking at certain types of their students, they felt, the in-house and that physical touch. And so, but overall, he said that they bought into the program. They also got training this time compared to what happened back in March with the immediate
You had to kind of wing
flip.
it and rush it.
Yeah, it was completely different, and so he feels that they feel more secure in making sure that the students are learning, because that's the primary concern. Make sure our students are learning this. They bought a lot of the Chromebooks that are now arriving, as we saw earlier this week. And so that and creating those hotspots for the kids that may not have Wi-Fi at home or the internet to make sure that everyone has access to this. So it's still going to be a challenge, but when you are the largest in the state, there are things that you've got to face that some school systems don't. They have both urban and rural schools.
They're right. You think about how big Mobile County is. It goes from Dauphin Island to Citronelle. So you're looking at a 66-mile-long county, and that's a lot of schools to think about, a lot of students and faculty to think about.
And the number 6 that you said, over 60,000 students, staff, and personnel that he's having to
in charge of.
That's
unbelievable. And I know that we're going to find more about all of this on Perspectives. It comes on tomorrow at 9, right?
Tomorrow morning at 9, right after Asha and Matt with the Saturday morning news. And of course, if you miss it, you can always catch us on the internet, on our website, and the Fox 10 YouTube channel.
Sounds good. It's going to be an informative one for sure, Eric. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Well, we will have another episode of Perspectives coming up tomorrow morning at 9. Set your DVR or check it out on the YouTube channel. Chelsea?